Okay, we're in section 1.3.10, Project I, and this is the Math 119 projects. My recommendation is learn how to launch Sage from your computer. All right, it's in my dock. I'm going to click on it. I know this is rather repetitive for students that have been paying attention. There's two ways to launch it. One is by a command line, which is my preferred way through the terminal. The other way is where, if you're going to share a document, use Jupyter Notebooks. If you're going to use a Jupyter Notebook, though, you need a directory where to store these files. Now, of course, I've already created one. My files would be stored in users, run.bannon, documents / Jupyter. And there'd be a folder on my computer that has those documents. Of course, if I launch a Jupyter Notebook, it launches a web-based interface, but it's still using your computer for processing power. All right. Now, I actually prefer to use the terminal. Let me launch it, and I noticed I already have a terminal open, so I'm gonna close this one out. And let me just exit out of here, and let me close that window. And I'm gonna start talking through the code. All right. So the code is about what you're learning in Math 119, and you're learning about compound interest. And this is the compound interest formula right here, where the amount you have at time t is equal to p, which is the principal, times 1 plus the rate of interest, the yearly rate of interest, divided by the number of times per year it's compounded, all raised to the number of times it's compounded per year times the number of years. So what I want to do is, kind of look at the code, and I'm going to start typing it in, reset, and that kind of gives me a clean slate. I'm going to scroll up a little bit more. Oh, t is a variable. What's t? T is time, but it's a variable, and we're going to define our variables before using them. Now, the other letters in the problems are not variables, they're parameters. Like the letter P is a parameter, which is principal. The letter R is a parameter, which is the interest rate per year. N is a parameter, which means the number of times it's compounded per year. So what I want to do is I want to assign these parameters values. So P is 100. That's the initial amount of money I'm going to invest. N is equal to 12, which means it's being compounded 12 times per year, once per month. The interest rate is going to be equal to 0.05, right? It's 5% per year. And then what do? Is I assign the function a, it's a function of t, by the way, the formula. And what's the formula? It's p star, right? 1 plus r divided by n. Now remember, these letters are parameters that have assigned values, and we're being raised to n star t. Now, if I make a mistake, it'll say I made a mistake. I made a mistake somewhere. I got to figure out, oh, I see it now. I got 2 stars down there. Doesn't make any sense to the computer, so I got to correct it. And let me go backwards. I didn't correct it. Got to look at it again. P star 1 plus r per n. Yeah, it looks like it did okay. And again, I want to point out, you're going to make mistakes. Try to correct your mistakes as you make them. So let me type this in for you, and let's display that out. You know what? I'm noticing that they actually did a computation over there. And that's nothing wrong with that, but I didn't really want to do that. Right, but that's what A is. What do? They put P in for 100. They did the arithmetic 1 plus R over N, and they did NT. All right? But what I want to do is I want to follow the code over here and see what they're saying over here. They're saying for T, and we'll read that through, in a range. And what's the range going to be? It starts at 0, and it goes up to 35, and they're going to be counting by 1. And what do they want to do? They want to compute A at T. Now they're going to create a listing now. Let me hit return. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. And let's just talk about that now. All right. So I want to point out what I'm seeing over here. And I want to, again, go through this one piece at a time. When t is equal to 0, if you did the computation, you would just have $100. Now, if t is equal to 1 at 5% interest, it's compounded monthly, by the way. If it wasn't compounded monthly, you get $105. But since it's compounded monthly, you would get $105 and actually 12 cents, by the way. All right. But this is 0 years, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. I think you get the idea. 6 year, 7 year, 8, 9, 10, so forth and so on. Creates a long listing of it. Now, granted, you can change that code if you want, and you can play around with it. Let's say I want to go from, I don't know, 100 to 105. All right, let's put that down. Let's see what happens. And it does a computation. So, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104. Let me just see if I did that. 100, 105, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104. Oh, I guess it stopped counting at 104. All right, and it goes up by 104, and 105. It didn't go up above that. All right, but then you get computations there. So again, it may seem outrageous to you, but if you put $100 in a bank, 5% interest, for 100 years, compounded monthly, you'd have $14,687.94 waiting for you. All right. Okay, so I'm going to call it quits over there. I think that's about all they did for this over here. Again, it's a range thing, and it's not bad. You know what I want to do? I want to play around with this range thing over here. And what I want to do is I just want to print out the T. All right, let's see what we get. 100, 101, 102, 103, 104. Yeah, now I'm seeing it. All right, so it's counting. 100, 101, 102, 103, 104. Right, if I want to get to 105, I guess that changes to 6 then. Yeah, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105. Let's play around a little more. Let's change this to a counter variable of 2. Whoops, not 2. Whoops. And let's see what happens over there. So it should be 100. Let's see what happens. 100, 102, 104, and then if I count by 2, it'd be 106, but it's not getting to 106. All right, you get the idea. You play around. The whole point of software is to play around with it. There's tremendous amount of documentation, by the way. But here, playing around, you're going to learn a lot. All right, please play around with software. It's important you do that. Thanks so much for paying attention.